Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Free Feeling Masterclass. If you joined me last night for the live event, I'm so grateful you were able to be there. We did the masterclass plus the somatic feeling practice and then went into spinal energetics. But today I am just going to share with you the masterclass on free feelings. And I got the inspiration to do this at the start of the week when I was actually moving through a lot of emotions. And I had a moment where I was just so grateful for having the tools that I have now on how to feel emotions. Because past Maggie had no idea how to fully feel her emotions. She didn't know how to, first off, recognize them or even know how to allow herself to be with those emotions, which led to dissociation, numbing, distractions, busyness. And it took me quite a while to really, first off, understand how to recognize when I was feeling an emotion and then also numbing that emotion. And then on top of that, how to even process that emotion and how to be with it. So that is why I'm here today sharing with you this free feeling masterclass. I'm so grateful that you are here and learning how to feel your emotions and how to process them with me today. So I'll give you a little bit of a rundown of what we'll go over. So we're going to talk about what even are emotions in the first place. We'll go into all the different types of emotions that we can experience. And then we'll go into how these emotions affect our physical body. And from there, we'll talk about how do we process these emotions that are stored and stuck within our body as well. So I'm so excited to talk about this. I'm so passionate about emotions. And I'm going to share a little bit of what came up last night on the live masterclass as well. So, first off, we hopped on and I asked everyone, what is your definition of emotions? Some people said energy and motion, which I was like, yes, that is exactly what emotions are. But then others said emotions were feelings or emotions were this this sensation within the body that they wanted to avoid or reject. And others shared that emotions to them just meant that they kind of lost control of what they were feeling. So we all have a different definition of emotions logically. But then we kind of went into what are our beliefs around emotions? And this can be, anything from positive to negative beliefs. And the interesting thing is that we can hold dual negative and positive beliefs about a certain thing. So we might have, a belief that emotions are good, it's good to feel emotions. And then there might be a part of us that has this belief that if I show emotions, then I'll be rejected. If I cry, then, there's something wrong and it's something that I need to hide and process by myself. And so I invite you to, as you're going along with this masterclass, to first off write down or journal or write in your notes, what does emotions mean to you? When you think of the word emotions, is there a warm, fuzzy feeling, or is there maybe a little bit of resistance? And based on that, what are your beliefs about emotions? Do you believe that it's weak to share emotions or to show emotions or to even experience emotions? Do you believe that emotions are actually really healthy and it's good for us to share our emotions? Just starting to become aware of any of these subconscious beliefs that might be playing out that you're not fully aware of in your day-to-day life. So I describe emotions as energy and motion to my clients. But what does that really mean? Energy and motion. Okay, so emotions are energy and motion. If you break that down, it really means that the energy wants to move, right? And how does this energy move? It moves by being felt, being acknowledged, being processed, being really felt within the soma, within the body. And so that is how we move this energy. And we're going to go into what I call the feelings wheel for a moment here. I'm going to share my screen. So when I first got into understanding emotions, this was one of the most helpful things that I really started to focus on. So let me expand this if I can. Here we go. So with the feelings wheel, basically, it's showing us, okay, so most of us really see that, we can recognize when we're angry, when we're fearful, when we're joyful, when we have surprise, or maybe we're repulsed. But there's so many more emotions that are tied to these six main emotions that we usually recognize. So, for example, when you feel anger, it might not be just this anger, it could be this feeling of being stifled or someone betraying you or even resentment. And so, with this work, it's really important to become a detective. When you're getting to know your emotions, you have to bring some curiosity. It's important to, not just label an emotion and be like, well, I'm angry and that's it. And you're just logically thinking about it. It has to be a little bit more of a curiosity of getting to know this sensation, this emotion. And this comes with non-reaction too. So when you can experience an emotion such as sadness and not just immediately react as I'm sad, I'm the victim, you know, letting everybody know I'm just really sad. What's underneath that sadness? Are you feeling rejected? Are you feeling lonely? Are you disappointed? Because there's a lot of layers to these emotions that help us to really understand and to break it down. Because when it seems so big, such as fear or anxiety, it can feel really overwhelming to start to be with that emotion or to process it, right? So, say you're feeling this anxiety and you can sit with it, bring your awareness to it, and you're like, okay, I'm just going to become curious. Why am I feeling this anxiety or this fear? And maybe it's because you're feeling a little insecure or nervous about a speech you're going to give. And then you can break it down a little bit more and see that, okay, why am I feeling this insecurity or this fear around speaking? And then you can break it down more and you realize that it's just 10-year-old you that had to do a speech in front of the class and you forgot some of the words and you're really embarrassed from that. And then you can break that down even more and really comfort that inner child. Or you can basically break it down and you see, okay, I'm not 10 years old anymore. I'm much older, much wiser. And what's the worst thing that can happen? Okay, I forget a few words when I do my speech. Maybe I stumble over my words, and that's okay. And so it's like taking this big emotion and kind of breaking it down. And you can do this through journaling. You can do this through talking through it with someone else. But ultimately realizing that a lot of these big emotions can be tied to past experiences. And that's why they can seem so big and so vulnerable to be with, because there's still a part of us that has been holding on to this experience or this emotion for a long time. And so that's why it's so important to start to process and start to peel back these layers or start to empty out our bucket of emotions that we have inside of us, inside of our subconscious, and inside of our body. And this is exactly what I do in my work through the subconscious and through the energy field. We're just really helping to take out some of that overflow, some of those burdens that are in your emotion cup, so that when you have a moment of feeling triggered or feeling sad, angry, fearful, you're not reacting from all of your past experiences. You're able to really witness the emotion that comes through, and you're able to feel it and to be with it. And it's not as overwhelming when the emotional bucket has been emptied. So I love this feelings wheel. It's just great to reference at times whenever you're like, I'm feeling this big emotion, but I'm not really sure, what is underneath it. I'm not really sure why I'm feeling this fear. And then maybe you find out that you're just feeling a little overwhelmed by work or a relationship. And then you're able to communicate this better instead of reacting from the emotion. So that is the first image that I wanted you guys to see today. And we're going to go into, okay, what do we do once we can label these emotions? And many of us are masters at bypassing our emotions. I know I was, and it can be at times still today. And what's really interesting is when I was talking to everyone last night on the masterclass, most people were raising their hands when I asked, are you an emotional bypasser? And pretty much everybody said yes. And what does it mean to be an emotional bypasser? Basically, it means that you are very good at avoiding your emotions. You're very good at distracting yourself, dissociating. Maybe you daydream. Maybe you kind of just pour yourself into your work. You distract yourself by toxic relationships or even, healthy relationships as well. And you tend to rationalize your emotions through your logic instead of fully experiencing them. And at times you might even kind of isolate yourself or numb out by scrolling online, watching Netflix, or even with substances such as alcohol or drugs. And you might even be really defensive when emotions are brought up. And if this triggers you or resonates with you, know that it's okay. Most of us have been conditioned to be an emotional bypasser to survive in the world we live in. And so give yourself some grace if this is resonating with you, because most of us, women and men, are very good at bypassing our emotions. And this is because we've been taught that it's not safe, it's not proper, big kids don't cry. As we were going through this last night, I asked some of the girls on the masterclass, what have you been told in your lifetime about your emotions? What does it feel like to talk about being an emotional being? Many people were saying that they would feel or they've been taught that they would be rejected if they were emotional or if they shared how they were truly feeling. They would lose love. They would get abandoned if they fully expressed themselves and their emotions. And some some people even shared how, since childhood they were told that it's not right to be emotional. It's not strong to express your emotions. And even myself, I was told when I was younger that we only cry at funerals. We don't cry because we're upset. And so, especially these things that are told to us when we are children get lodged within our brain and within our subconscious and still play out as we are adults. And so it's really important to know that there can be a lot of layers to why we are emotionally bypassing. And another reason could be it was unsafe to feel emotions when you were a child. Maybe you had a very chaotic household where people around you, such as your parents, were very emotional. It was very volatile. And so you had to keep your emotions closed and inside of you so that you could keep the peace around you. And many people pleasers are amazing at bypassing their emotions. They're amazing at staying positive when truly that's not how they feel inside because they've had this practice their whole life of to be accepted and loved, I have to be happy and I have to be peaceful. I can't be angry. I can't be sad or anxious because then others won't want to be around me. And there's a lot of, truth to that from different experiences that you go through in your life. And so through emotional processing, it's reminding the body and the subconscious that it is safe to be with emotions. It is safe to feel them. It is safe to express them. And so on the other side of this chart, you can see what it looks like to process your emotions. So it could be pausing to acknowledge and recognize your emotions without judgment, creating an open and accepting space for your emotions to arise and be felt. Someone shared last night that sometimes when they just get enough space to be by themselves, they start to cry. And I said, yes, that's so, so true. Sometimes all we need is just that space of safety to be able to allow the emotions to surface. And also being able to identify the name and root cause of the specific emotion you're experiencing. And this is where using the feeling wheel is so helpful because it really helps to break down what am I actually feeling in this moment? And then accepting and validating your emotions as valid, not downplaying your emotions, not pretending to be okay when you're actually not, and really allowing yourself to validate your experience. And I see some people who are almost overly sharing their process and validation of their emotions. And I see that in the spiritual community where it's almost like people want to kind of validate them doing something that isn't nice to others through saying, well, I'm feeling this way, so therefore I'm going to block you. And so remembering that you can validate your own experience, but you don't need to always project it or kind of explain yourself with that. That just came through, and I wanted to share that with you guys. I see that in the spiritual community where it's like, okay, I didn't fully like this and it brought up some anger, it triggered me, so I'm just gonna leave. And yeah, it's knowing that we can process our emotions, we can validate our emotions, but it doesn't always have to be at the expense of others. Um, yeah. And then to explore the deeper messages or meaning behind your emotions, which is amazing because every emotion, every symptom that we feel within our body is a message. And it's a message trying to get our attention of, hey, I don't like this, or this is how I actually feel about this, or I really feel like we need a boundary here. And it'll come through as intuition, as those still small little messages that come through. And that's why it's really important to become aware of our emotions, because what they're ultimately doing is leading us back into wholeness, leading us back into who are we really, and back to our truth. So this is just a great way to really see, okay, on one side, this is how you're bypassing, and on the other side, this is how you can process your emotions instead of bypassing them. So, moving on from that, we're going to go into talking about, and before we move on, we'll go through this one as well, because I thought it was also just a great example of, again, some examples of what bypassing can look like, because most of us are not even aware that we are emotionally bypassing because it has become such a deep pattern and habit of ours that it really takes an effort to become aware when we are avoiding, numbing, distracting, rationalizing, intellectualizing our emotions or our feelings, because a lot of us don't fully understand that to feel our emotions is not to just rationalize it or explain it, but it is to feel it within our body. And so how we do that is we have to first pause and acknowledge. And that is like a big, big first step, right? Because if you have been amazing at numbing and distracting yourself from emotions your entire life, it becomes, it becomes a little bit of a challenge at first when you first start to pause and acknowledge these emotions and to really recognize when you are bypassing, you know, because it becomes such a subconscious habit of, okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed today. I'm just going to get on my phone and binge some reels that make me laugh and I'll feel better. But recognizing when you have that urge to bypass or disconnect from your feelings, that is the moment to acknowledge it, to acknowledge the emotion that is coming up, and to, if you have time and space, to become present and to really start to sense the emotions within your body. And we're going to go a little bit more into this later on how to somatically feel your emotions. And we're going to do a practice of somatic experiencing. Um, and so when you start to feel these emotions, it's really important to feel where is that emotion. Is it within your chest? Is it in your shoulders, your neck, or your stomach? Is it in your head? Does it feel, like there's tension or heaviness? Um, does it feel like a queasiness in your stomach? And really starting to first off acknowledge and then sense, where is this emotion within my body? And then can you breathe through it? Can you breathe through that emotion that is coming up to the surface? And sometimes you're able to name the emotions, and sometimes you can, attribute the cause of the emotions and kind of, figure that out. But what I really want you guys to take home today is that it's not always important to know the cause of what you're feeling. The feeling wheel is great for, starting to understand and recognize different emotions. But a lot of times when you feel and process your emotions, you might not have any idea where it's coming from. And this is normal and this is okay. It doesn't mean that you're blocking out memories or anything. It just means that you are somatically processing this emotion that's coming through. And this can be because maybe the emotions you're feeling is an accumulation, from maybe childhood, maybe from 10 years ago, or maybe from this past year. And it's not always from just one thing. It can be from a multitude of experiences. And, say you have grief that comes up when you allow yourself to sit with the sensations and emotions in your body. It could be from someone passing away when you were 6 years old, or it could be from, losing an ex 5 years ago. So it's not always something that you have to know the reason for. If you have a vision or a memory come through, then that's great. But in order to feel and process an emotion, you don't have to know the reason that it's there. And that makes things a lot easier, right? Because we can't always remember every experience that caused us grief or sadness or anxiety. And the important thing is that we're acknowledging it, we're feeling it, we're sensing where it is in the body, we connect with it, we breathe through it. Maybe we somatically process it, which can look like moving the body, rolling around, shaking the body, jumping up and down, punching a pillow, screaming into a pillow. Because remember, energy is energy in motion. Emotion is energy in motion. And so it wants to move. It wants to move through you. It doesn't want to just be stagnated within the body. And we're going to talk about what happens when we continue to emotionally bypass, when we have these stuck emotions within our body, what this actually causes within our physical organs and body as well. So we'll go over that now. So when we don't feel our emotions, when we leave them unprocessed, when we leave them repressed or avoided, they tend to linger in our body. And there are emotional energetic centers in the body that store specific emotions and energies. And so this is just a really cool diagram that shows us different parts of the body that store different emotions. So we have the throat center, which can store a lot of emotions around communication, self-expression, creativity. And I see a lot of women with stuck emotions and energy within their throat because we've been told to stay quiet, be the good girl. And this can also be true for men. If they're afraid to share their heart, to share their truth because it's too vulnerable. And then oftentimes guilt, shame, unworthiness can be within the solar plexus, which is the stomach and the heart. I've also seen it in the fear center or the womb in women. And the fear center can store a lot of fear, anxiety, and insecurities along, with the stomach and the sacrum as well. And then we have betrayal that can be stored within the heart. And there's also good emotions that are stored within their body, such as love, compassion, joy. But yeah, there can be grief or rejection or betrayal stored within the heart. And then within the hips and the lower back, a lot of times emotions around feeling unstable or unsupported can be stored within the lower back. And then we can also have anger in our throat or our solar plexus. And I always tell people to take this with a grain of salt. Emotions can be in certain parts of the body, but also they, can get stored in random parts as well. And I'll show you another photo that explains where emotions get stuck in the body. And these emotions can lead to pain and it can lead to physical illnesses and diseases as well. And so this is why it's so important and why I'm so passionate about sharing why we need to feel our emotions so that they don't manifest into physical symptoms and illnesses. And for example, within my own body, I have had a tumor removed from my right ovary when I was younger. And I fully believe it was because I had a lot of fear and insecurity and other emotions stuck within my womb area. And it's interesting, I have also never really felt like I could experience or express my anger when I was younger. And I have this interesting little tumor on my liver as well. And I know this because I went to ultrasound school. So I'm not just you know, I'm not able to just like sense all of this, but I've medically, been able to see this and witness how unprocessed emotions really do lead to physical manifestations. And you can see over here in this photo that, if you have headaches, it could be from perfectionism, self-criticism, or fear. Then if you have stiffness or pain in your neck, it can be from inflexibility. I see a lot of people who are very logical, or always future predicting. They have pain in their neck. And then people who have pain in their shoulders, a lot of entrepreneurs have a lot of pain in their shoulders. And it's because they feel like there's this pressure, this weight that they're carrying on their shoulders all the time because they're carrying their business on their shoulders, right? And so it's important to really recognize that our physical pain is just a message to remind us, hey, check in. Hey, this is too much. Let's slow down. Let's really feel what's here. And in the lungs, people will carry depression or grief, not feeling worthy. And this is actually tied to traditional Chinese medicine. They say that grief is in the lungs, anger is in the liver, anxiety is in the kidneys, and worry is in the spleen. And I've actually seen this true in a lot of my clients. And also a lot of people who experience IBS or digestive disorders, it's tied to fear or anxiety, and also insecurities or rejection. And then arms and legs, and also knees and feet, I found that can be tied to resistance to change. And that resistance to change can be tied to the ego, or it can be a fear of stepping forward into a new season of life. And then with the hips and low back, again, it can be tied to feeling unstable or unsupported. And so, again, this can be different for every person. Um, but yeah, it's really interesting to see how our emotions can really be connected to the physical pain or symptoms we feel. And as I share this, I also want to acknowledge that it goes both ways, right? If we have the power to manifest physical things through our emotions and our thoughts, then we have the power to create health and wellness as well. We have the power to heal our body through our mind and our emotions just as much as we have the power to create disease. And this is, what Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about in You Are the Placebo and many of his different books. And so it's really powerful to remember that we are the creator. We get to create with the universe, with God, whatever you believe in. And you're either creating good things, positive things, or maybe not so positive things. So just remembering that and letting this be an empowering lesson. And so how do these emotions or these experiences or traumas get held within the body? How does this happen? How does an energy such as an emotion turn into something physical? How does it go from energy to matter? So in this diagram, you can really see how basically trauma gets stored within the body and impacts the body first when it doesn't get fully processed or experienced. So, say you have a traumatic event that takes place. Say you saw somebody get hurt in a car accident, and it was really traumatic, and it really, has affected you. Now you have this fear of driving, and this fear basically gets stored within the body. And it's almost as if you your body doesn't know the difference between what see happen or envision happen, and the difference between it happening within the mind or happening within your actual body. So then the body goes into tension, it goes into this stress. And because it's like, oh my gosh, we're unsafe, I need to protect myself. So then it tenses up and it holds on to this energy and this emotion. And it holds on to it until you can actually feel it and process it. And so then when the body holds on to it, the body gets stuck in a chronic stress response. If, it's not just one traumatic event, it's multiple traumatic events that you never fully process, or multiple emotions you never fully process. It can put the body into, and the nervous system into a fight or flight slash freeze state. And basically it puts your body into this hyperactive state of we have to be on guard at all times because you never know what's going to happen. And so this continuous stressful state leads to the physical manifestation of chemicals, which are called hormones within the body that are released whenever we're in a chronic fight or flight state for a long amount of time. And these stress hormones are good when it's a, you know, very acute situation where it happens and then you can come back to safety. But when the body and the nervous system never gets to come back to safety, this chronic release of stress hormones, such as cortisol, leads to a breakdown in our body, in our immune system, and also in our hormone system. So it can literally lead to hormone imbalances, infertility. It can lead to a heightened susceptibility to illnesses. And you see this today as stress is the leading cause of disease and death. And so it's really important to take your stress seriously and to help your body to come out of that survival mode. And so then the body is unable to reach homeostasis when it's in this state of instability and unsafety. And the key is to help the body to come back into safety, come back into homeostasis, because healing can only occur when you're in that parasympathetic rest and digest. And so, what we're going to do today, we're going to do a practice in a moment that helps the body to come into a state of safety because we're allowing and creating a safe space for the body to really feel and to be with these emotions. And then we're going to just see what comes up to the surface. And usually, things that you might not even know are in your body will come up to the surface through emotions, through sensations. And I invite you to just be with it, to really experience it, to acknowledge it, to validate it, and to not distract yourself, not judge it, but become that detective. Get curious, become open-minded to what is stored within your body. And so, how to feel your feelings. I really love this, and I think it's just a great way to remind us how to feel our feelings when something arises. So, first step is it sounds obvious, but totally isn't. I love that. It sounds obvious, right? It's logically obvious that we should feel our emotions, but then to actually feel them and to process them is a completely different thing. So imagine an unpleasant feeling arises. Maybe it's anger, maybe it's sadness, maybe it's anxiety. And immediately your mind launches into whatever inner story accompanies this feeling. Whether it's I'm unlovable, I'm a loser, I resent how I look, whatever story it is, I invite you to let go of the stories, to let go of trying to figure out why you're feeling this, Because when you're thinking about it and you're trying to figure out, why do I feel this way? Where does this belief come from? Which can be helpful at times to, you know, really break down limiting beliefs or negative beliefs. But when you're feeling your feelings, it's more important to redirect away from your mind and come into the body and to mentally think about what you're actually sensing. And it's completely different than feeling the emotion, expressing the emotion. It's, what are you feeling? Is it chest tightness? Is it a heaviness on your body? Does it feel harder to breathe? Do you feel queasy? Does it feel like there's a knot in your stomach or like there's butterflies in your stomach? And then once you can acknowledge this feeling, can you breathe into it without trying to change it, without trying to figure it out, without trying to judge it? Can you just breathe and allow it? And as you connect to it, as you breathe through it, can you then move through it? Whether it's crying, shaking, dancing, throwing a fit, punching a pillow, screaming into a pillow. And it's so cute. It says, if you're not like in Target. So if you're from the US, you get that. But can you just be with it? And can you really allow your body, not your mind, your body, to somatically process it? And your mind will really want to go back into the thought story mode. And when this happens, redirect your awareness back into your body, back into your breath. So taking those deep breaths, keep feeling into the body, noticing where the sensation is. Maybe it's moved from the chest to the stomach. Maybe you feel it in your shoulders now, and letting it fully exist, and trust that when you feel it, when you allow it, it will leave. Because if something unpleasant arises and you immediately shut it down and reject it, it's going to become a stuck emotion. And so as you breathe through it, as you move through it, just observe it changing. Watch it move and notice after maybe a minute or so, you feel better. Because truly, emotions only last about 90 seconds. It's the stories and it's the, repetition of, I'm feeling this sadness because someone did this to me. That is what keeps us stuck in the emotion. And it's the ignoring, repressing, distracting that keeps us in these emotions as well. So if you can imagine an animal, say it's an antelope and it's been chased by a lion, and somehow this antelope gets away. And after it has, come back into safety, it shakes it off. It shakes off that fear, that adrenaline. And as humans, we have lost touch with our ability to just feel things and let it go through the body. And so that is truly the key to feeling your emotions. And so in a moment here, I'm going to play some music and we are going to really feel and process somatically what is coming up to the surface. And we will spend 2 songs with 3 different emotions. So the first one is with the feeling of sadness, of grief, of really being with any of those heavier emotions. And then we'll go into anger. Maybe it's resentment, maybe it's hatred, um, and really allowing yourself to feel that anger, whether it's through screaming, through throwing a fit, tensing up the body. And then once we go through anger, we will go into joy. We will go into really reclaiming what it looks like to be empowered to feel our emotions. Because for so long, we've been disempowered when it comes to feeling and processing our emotions. And so we're going to move into that empowerment, feeling strong, feeling confident to feel and express ourselves. And then we will end the session with just really breathing and feeling how light the body feels as we close out this masterclass. So before we begin the free feeling somatic experience, I invite you to either get comfortable laying down. You can do this sitting up. You can do this standing. Whatever feels right to you when it comes to really feeling through and processing what comes up to the surface. So let me pull up my computer audio. So getting comfortable, getting into position, starting to take some deep breaths as you let go of the logical mind. And let's start by just placing our hands on one hand on the heart and the other on our stomach. Really feeling into our breath as we breathe in deeply into the stomach and into the heart. Feeling safe, knowing that this is a safe space. Nobody can hear you or see you as you experience these emotions. So once you have gotten comfortable, I have shared this playlist in the caption below. Since I can't play it for you guys with the copyright, you'll have to play it yourself. So if you can turn on your computer, your phone, hitting play in just a moment as I will continue to guide you through this practice. And you will just need to be playing this playlist yourself. Starting with the first song. River, forever, you, 'cause I'm all that you feel so. So coming into connection with your heart and your breath as you breathe here. Feeling into these emotions around sadness, these emotions around grief. Moving your body, knowing that sometimes as we move our body, it helps us to really feel into and almost shake loose this stagnant energy. So knowing that you can get into any position, whether it's standing, sitting, on your hands and knees, maybe it's on your back, just allowing yourself to be with this sadness. Whether this sadness is because of losing someone, from rejection, abandonment, not feeling good enough. Whatever this sadness is, just being with it as you let go of the story, really just being with the pure emotion. Where do you feel it in your body? Is it in your chest, your stomach, your head, your legs? Knowing that it is safe to go into the depths of this emotion. It is safe to feel. Breathing through it. Deep breath in, deep breath out. You have one more song here, staying with this grief, staying with the sadness, and knowing if no emotions come up to the surface, that's okay too. Can you just be with the numbness? Can you just be with the sensations that are here in the body as you listen to this music? Feeling into the sensations that are here and breathing into it, helping the energy to move, knowing that the breath helps the energy to move through the body. Also, moving helps to continue to move this energy. And you just be with this sadness for a moment. Can you just hold space for it? Knowing all you have to do is just hold the space, hold your presence and acknowledging, validating what you feel. Almost there. One more minute of just being with this sadness. Almost there. Breathing in deeply. Big exhale. And for the next song, we're going to move into some anger, some rage. So, starting to tap into those sensations, those emotions of maybe it's even disgust. Really allowing yourself to be with the anger, be with the resentment, the ickiness, those sticky emotions that you don't allow yourself to feel. Can you just be with this anger, these sticky emotions that oftentimes you repress? Really starting by maybe tensing up the body, getting really tense, feeling this building up of anger, of rage. Maybe you grab a pillow and you either hit it or you scream into it, but just allowing this sacred rage to be expressed, knowing that your anger has purpose. Your rage has purpose. It is allowed. It is safe to be angry. being with it, breathing through it, allowing your voice to be heard. How do you want to express this anger? Does it want to come through as yelling? Does it want to come through as kicking or shaking, crying? There's no right or wrong here. Can you shake it out? Can you move this energy? Can you breathe through it? Maybe welcoming in this alter ego of the wild version of you that just fully expresses themselves, uncaging all of these emotions as you unravel the different beliefs, the different thought patterns that have been put into you around who you can be, who you can express yourself as. Almost imagining like ripping open at the seams, letting it go, stepping out and stepping forward, and allowing this anger to be powerful, to be safe, to be a motivation instead of something that gets stored deep inside of you. Knowing that every emotion that we feel has a purpose, has a message, and is sacred, is our birthright to feel and to process these emotions. It's not sinful. You're not a bad person if you feel anger. You're human. Moving, shaking the body, letting it go, letting it out. Deep breaths. Ah. We're almost there with this song. You have one more song to be with these deeper, heavier emotions. I'm here to ask you, can you just be with it a little bit longer? Can you just allow yourself to process and be with these emotions a little bit longer for your inner child, for your future self, for your present self? Can you just be with it? And again, getting curious, where are you repressing yourself? Where are you holding yourself back or hiding your light? Can you open it up? Can you let it out? Can you shake? Can you move? Can you express this through your body? Where do you feel tension? Where do you feel yourself holding back? Breathing into it, imagining as you breathe in, you're bringing light to the parts of yourself that have been repressed for far too long. Where are those beliefs that your emotions are bad or that they will lead to you being rejected or unlovable? Bringing that up to the surface, bringing it into the light, knowing that these negative, limiting beliefs cannot survive in the light when they're acknowledged. Breathing through it. Ah. moving the body, breathing into the hips, especially. We hold so much in our hips. Can you move your shoulders? Can you roll out your neck? Can you move just a little bit more? Almost there, just a couple more minutes. The parts of you that you have deemed as unlovable, the parts of you that you feel like cannot be shared with this world, giving them some light, giving them some love. Feeling into this sacred rage of, I will not hide anymore. I don't need to distract or numb anymore. I'm ready and able to start to really feel what is here again. Remembering as children, we were just feeling beings. We would fully feel our emotions. We would cry, we would scream, and then we would laugh, knowing that this is our innate nature. We are energetic feeling beings, breathing in, breathing that truth in. Softening the jaw as you breathe. Breathing into any other areas of the body where you are holding tension. One more minute of really feeling into these deeper, darker emotions, knowing that they all have a purpose. In this moment, really feeling how you are reclaiming your emotions, reclaiming your body as well. It's when you can come into touch with the sensations and the feelings, you come back into touch with your body's wisdom. Deep breaths in. Starting to slow down and starting to come into contact with this empowerment, with this feeling of reclamation. This is me. I am a feeling being. And it is safe to be me. It is safe to feel the full spectrum of who I am. So if you aren't standing up, maybe standing up, just moving and dancing to this song now. As you feel the lyrics, as you feel the joy that comes with reclaiming parts of yourself that have been rejected for so long. Letting go of those tendencies to be a people pleaser, to over-explain yourself, to try and be positive all the time. Feeling how freeing it feels to reclaim, being able to just feel, being able to be with our emotions, no matter how it makes anyone else feel around you. remembering that others' emotions are not your responsibility. You don't have to try and make sure others are okay all the time. You can just remember that it is safe to be fully you. No matter what others say about you, how they perceive you, your emotions are valid, they are sacred, and it is so important to be connected to our emotions and our sensations. Really celebrating yourself in this moment, that you took the time to really feel these emotions, to be with them today, that you're on the path to reconnecting to your truth and to yourself, to these deeper parts of yourself that are just dying to be expressed. Deep breaths in as you move, as you dance here. Maybe bringing a big smile to your face, feeling some gratitude, feeling some joy. Maybe placing your hands on your heart, feeling this lightness. Remembering that it is safe and it is not hard to feel what's here. It gets to be easy. It gets to feel natural to connect. This is you, beautiful you, this feeling being who is the full spectrum of a human. Yay! Thank you so much. We have one more song, and you can play it in the background as we are wrapping up this free feeling masterclass. I'm so, so grateful that you joined today and that you took the time to really be with yourself, to be with the intimate, vulnerable parts of yourself today. It's not always easy. It's actually a very brave and courageous thing to feel our emotions when we've been told our entire life that it's wrong or unsafe. I'm so proud of you. I hope that you can really take this somatic experience with you and come back to it whenever you need to. This is not just a one and done deal. Feeling your emotions is a lifelong journey, and there is no finish line. But that's the exciting part, is that as you become more emotionally tapped in, it becomes easier and easier to really recognize when you need to feel your emotions, when you need to be with them. So thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of this, for doing the practice with me. And if you watched this and you loved this video, please leave a comment and subscribe. I'll be sharing even more in the future around emotions, around energy and somatics, and also going into working with the subconscious. And this is everything that I do in my work. I am a energy healer and subconscious reprogrammer, and I really help people to come into contact with their true self, gaining clarity on their purpose, really connecting with their soul mission. And I am just so lit up that there's so many people who are really realizing how important it is to connect with our emotions, to really come back into feeling. So I love you. I'm so grateful that you showed up for yourself today, and look out for the next video on emotions and energy. It'll be coming out soon. Mwah. Thank you so much.